Hey, what's going on, guys? So we made it to the section where we're going to give you an introduction to what business development and sales is all about. Now, when it comes to the strategies you can use to grow your startup, there are essentially going to be three big different ways you're going to be able to do that. The first one is direct sales, which is you're selling directly to another company. Another one is going to be business development, and this is where you're going to partner with another company to reach new audiences. And the final one is going to be marketing. So let's go ahead and dive into each one so you get a better understanding of what each function is, so you can figure out which one is going to be the best for your business. Now, when it comes to direct sales, essentially what you're doing is it requires you to build a sales team when you want to scale. And when it comes to direct sales, it also is a little bit more transactional compared to strategic. And when you are doing direct sales, the product or service that you're offering typically doesn't change too much. So essentially, you're going out to different companies and you're selling the same product or service. Some people are going to say yes, some people are going to say no, and you keep repeating that cycle. And so when you want to make money in direct sales, either you sell more of whatever you have or you get your current customers to buy more from you. So that's going to be a brief introduction into direct sales, but don't worry, we will go into more direct sales strategies soon. Now, business development, it's all about building strategic partnerships to reach another company's audience. And so what you're doing is you're going out and you're finding different companies that you can partner with, which is a little bit different from selling directly to them. And in a way, when you're doing business development, you're providing value to them and their customer base, but at the same time, you may also be providing value to your own customer base. And we will go into more examples of what exactly I mean in a bit. And finally, the last strategy is marketing, which is essentially creating inbound leads from content creation like videos and white papers and things like that. And essentially the goal of marketing is to generate leads for the sales teams to go in and close the deal. Now, for the purpose of this course, and we're going to focus on the direct sales aspect of things and business development aspect of things. And this is because although they are different functions within a company, the strategies you can use to be successful at both of them are very similar. So what exactly is the difference between sales and business development? They sound similar, they sound different, but let's go ahead and dive into, what exactly those differences are and what those similarities are so you can decide which one you want to focus on for your startup. So let's go ahead and talk about sales first. So in sales, you're essentially selling a ready-to-buy product, meaning the product may have some slight variances and change, but for the most part, you're selling the same thing to pretty much anybody that fits your product market fit. So an example of this is that you're selling a SaaS, software as a service software, insurance, consulting services, or even physical products like Nike sneakers. It could be things from software all the way to physical goods that you can wholesale. So you can essentially go to all these different companies and sell the same exact thing to everybody, which makes it very simple. And so the typical process when it comes to doing direct sales is you go through a sales cycles, you talk to them, have a meeting, you make sure there's a fit, then you close the deal. And then in the future, you will continue to sell the same product to them over time, or you will upsell them in the future. And this is very common, especially in the startup world for SaaS companies or technology companies. You may go into a company and see if there's a fit, and then you would sell them something. And a lot of times, SaaS companies work by selling them a subscription model. So every year they would have to renew that subscription. And so that's how a sales cycle would work. And, if you already have a customer, if you come out with new products, especially when it's in software, you can hit them up again and then try to upsell them on whatever new products that you have. So when it comes to scaling sales, it does require you to build out your sales team, because if you want to dominate the entire world, you're going to have a world-class sales team selling to people all around the corners of the earth. And that's how most startups do it when they focus on direct sales. So to further illustrate what exactly direct sales is all about, let's go ahead and give you a demonstration. So the salesperson is one side and he's going to go out looking for prospects, and prospects are going to be people you've identified who may be a great fit for your product or service. So the salesperson goes out, tries to talk to the prospect, has a meeting with them, and then does a little presentation and eventually closes the deal. So if they want to find more customers, they got to find another prospect and another prospect and another prospect. So this is the same salesperson going out and reaching out to different people trying to make that sale. And so what essentially happens is once he or she does find someone that is willing to pay for their product or service, prospect's going to give them money, pass it over directly to the salesperson, and that's going to be the end of that. So when you're trying to scale your sales team, essentially you're going to hire, 1, 2, 3, or multiple salespeople, and they're going to go out finding prospects who fit their product market fit. And if one person says no, they go to the next one and the next one and the next one. Eventually, they're going to get people who are willing to buy their product or service, and they're going to give them money and pass it over directly to the salesperson. And that salesperson is going to pass it directly to the company that they're working for. But if you're working for yourself, it's going to go directly to you. So that's everything we got to cover on sales, but let's go ahead and talk about business development. And so I can give you, what exactly the differences and similarities between sales and business development. So when it comes to business development, it's going to require you to have more strategy to build a partnership with another company or another individual. So what you're going to do is you're going to get this other company, you're going to build a relationship with them, and you're going to convince them to sell your product or service directly to their customer base. And it doesn't require you to build a huge sales teams to scale. And the reason why is because when you go to another company who has a huge audience or a huge base, if you can get them to sell your product, then they're going to do all the work for you. And so when it comes to business development, essentially what you're doing is you're enabling another person, a lot of times it might be even a salesperson, to sell your product for you. And so this is why one business development person can go out, make these business partnerships with other companies and scale, because the other companies that they're partnering with already have a large customer base, and that's how you're going to get your foot in the door into huge audiences. And this is very different from direct sales, because direct sales, you got to go to each individual and try to sell them directly. And so both sales and business development, one thing I want to let you know is they can both exist at the same time. A lot of huge startups and a lot of huge companies, frankly, both have sales divisions and business development divisions, because both of them can work and help each other out. So there's going to be 4 different type of business development partnerships that you can utilize for your startup. And it's going to be product, distribution, brand, and channel. So let's go ahead and dive into each one so you have a better understanding of how business development actually works. Product business development, essentially you're building a business partnership that improves the end product either for you or the company that you are partnering with. And so what you're doing is you're increasing the value for the current customers, and you're going to attract new customers not only for the company you're partnering with, but you're also going to attract customers for yourself. So an example of this is when Spotify did a partnership with Genius. So if you guys don't know about the partnership, what it essentially looks like is, if you ever used Spotify before on your mobile device, let's say I'm listening to Drake's Passion Fruit. On the top part of the screen, what you're going to see is behind the lyrics, and it's powered by Genius, and you can see their logo there. And so what happens is when you play a song on Spotify, and what Genius essentially does is they're a technology company, a crowdsourced technology company where people can go in and write the meaning behind the lyrics, and the artists themselves can also input what they meant when they wrote the song. So when you're listening to the song, you could see directly what the artist meant when they were talking about it, and it goes line by line. So this is a really great partnership, because Genius, which is a startup essentially who has all this data on the meaning behind lyrics, goes to Spotify and says, hey, we have all these annotations of these lyrics. Do you want to implement them in your service? So Spotify says, okay. And so all the millions of people who are Spotify listeners are now going to have Genius lyrics in their service when they're using it on their mobile device. And this is great for Genius because they don't have to go and get a sales team and try to sell all these different companies. If they strategically find companies like Spotify or Pandora or SoundCloud and say, we can implement lyrics into the songs that you already have, and the company is gonna be like, sure, then Genius has access to millions of people who had maybe never have heard of the service before. And so how it works is Spotify collects a subscription from the millions of premium listeners, and they pass over the money to Spotify, and Spotify is going to pass a certain percentage or a certain fixed fixed amount to Genius because of that partnership. By integrating Genius into their service, they essentially increase the value of the Spotify service, so it is a win-win situation for both sides. Now, the other type of business development we're going to talk about is the distribution model, and essentially what you're doing is you're going to gain new customers by getting exposure to other companies' audiences or customer base, and you're providing more value to your customers as well as another person's company. And so an example of that is the distribution model behind Netflix. So when you think about Netflix, which is, it's a larger company, but not too long ago, it was a startup. It's this huge platform where they got a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows, and essentially got millions of paying users who go on every single day to watch Netflix. And so if you are creating a new TV show, or if you're a stand-up comedian and you want to get more exposure, what you can do is you can partner up with Netflix and have them distribute your content onto their platform. And so if you're starting out creating a brand new show and nobody knows who you are and you want to get as much exposure as possible, doing a Netflix deal might make a lot of sense, because by purely putting it on Netflix, basically they're going to promote you to all their millions of watchers, and you're going to get lots of views right off the bat because you did that deal. So distribution deals are very powerful in that you can tap into other people's network and they can promote you. And why Netflix wins is because they're going to get all this fresh new content that may be only available on their platform. And so if you're a fan of the TV show that's going to come out and it's only available on Netflix, and if you don't have Netflix, you're going to have to go to netflix.com and buy a subscription. And so it is a win-win situation for both sides. Now, the next type of business development deal we're going to look at is the brand enhancing deal. And it's going to be a partnership that improves the brand image for both parties that are involved. And so an example of this is the festival Life is Beautiful and how it books different music artists. So Life is Beautiful essentially is a large music festival, and they're not quite as big as Coachella or another festival like that, but they are quite they're getting big, and they're pretty new on the scene and not as well known. And so how a music festival, and essentially they are a music festival startup, how they essentially build out their name is they're going to book really big artists to perform during their lineup. And if you're a fan of the artist, you might go to the music festival just to see them. And so if you look at their lineup, they're going to be people like Chance the Rapper, the Gorillaz, Lord, Blink-182, Cascade, Wiz Khalifa. And so these are really big household names, especially in the US, that a lot of people listen to. And so if maybe you have never heard of Life is Beautiful, but you know that, the Gorillaz just came out of their hiatus and they're performing for the first time in many years, that's a moment where you're going to want to go. And if the only place to see them is Life is Beautiful, that's where you're going to be. So from a brand perspective, Life is Beautiful gets all this brand recognition because they have all these top tier artists performing at their festival. And for the artists, they win because they did a partnership with the Life is Beautiful brand. And by performing at a festival, what they're doing is, one, they're getting paid. Number two, they get the credibility of being a festival performer. So they could say, hey, I performed at this festival, Life is Beautiful, this other festival. And they can go out to other festivals all around the world and say, hey, this is my resume of where I performed. This is why you should book me for X amount of thousands of dollars. And so it's a win-win brand enhancing relationship, because Life is Beautiful wins by getting all these performers to enhance their brand by association, and the artists themselves get the recognition of performing at a big event like Life is Beautiful, and it is a win-win situation on both sides. Another example of brand enhancing business development is, Gary Vee. So Gary Vaynerchuk, he's been on the entrepreneurial scene for a while, but recently he's been making a ton of content trying to inspire people to become entrepreneurs or do what they love. And so he makes a lot of content on YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram. He's got millions of followers all around the world. And so what he did is a partnership with K-Swiss. So he is, I believe, the first business person to have his own custom sneaker. And so this is very powerful because as a business person, by being the first business person to have a sneaker deal, he's going to go down in history as the first. And so it enhances his brand. And now K-Swiss is going to win because K-Swiss is competing against Adidas and Nike and a lot of the heavy hitters that are dominating the scene right now, and they're trying to become relevant again. And so K-Swiss may not be able to get a LeBron James or a Kobe Bryant because, one, it's expensive and maybe they don't have the brand leverage to get those people. So what they can do is they can go to someone like Gary Vee, who's getting really popular on the scene, especially in the social media world, and say, hey, let's go ahead and do a collaboration where you're going to have a K-Swiss shoe, your own shoe line, and you're going to promote it to your audience, and because your audience is super cool, K-Swiss will then become super cool by association. And so Gary Vee wins because he gets a sneaker before all the business people do and he gets his own line. K-Swiss wins because they get to piggyback off of Gary Vee's social relevance in this time. And so it's a brand enhancing deal on both sides. The final business development deal we're going to look at is channel partnerships. And it's a partnership where two companies where they have similar customers develop a relationship where one company introduces the other product or service to their audience. And a lot of times it's going to work by a affiliate program or it's going to work with a revenue share deal. So an example of partnership, channel partnership is going to be Tai Lopez. Now I know a lot of people, they may not have the nicest thing to say about Tai Lopez because he runs a lot of ads and he's kind of cheesy in some senses, but you cannot deny that his social media following across the board is giant. Not only does he have millions of followers on like Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, his email list has millions of people on it that are ready to buy whatever he has to put out. And so another company, which is a startup called consulting.com, they help other individuals become consultants. They have a product that is a few $1,000s that they sell, and it's an e-learning product. And so what they do is they go to Tai Lopez and they say, hey, we got this product that's worth thousands of dollars. We want you to try to sell it to your millions of audience, and hopefully a small percentage of your audience actually buys it. So Tai Lopez says, okay, sounds good. I'll do it if we do a deal where I get revenue share, and they do the deal. So Tai Lopez go out and he will promote consulting.com's products to his audience, and his audience, a small percentage of it will buy it because they're a good fit for that product. And so what they'll do is the audience will give Tai Lopez money to purchase the product, and Tai Lopez is going to get his cut and he's going to give the rest to consulting.com. And so that's a partnership where it's going to be a revenue share deal. Another channel partnership is Oracle, the company that I used to work at. So at Oracle, they do have a direct sales division and they also have channel partnership divisions. So what happens is Oracle will have a representative go out and find all these individual sellers that do not work at Oracle. So they find these resellers who are looking to make money and have a customer base. And so those resellers, what they'll do is they'll take a bunch of Oracle products and they will go to their customers and try to shop them around. And basically, if they see that another customer that they have might be a good fit for whatever Oracle is offering, they're going to try to sell it to that customer. And if that customer buys it, then they're going to pass over the money to the reseller, and then the reseller is going to pass a cut of that back to Oracle. And the reason why this works very, very well for Oracle, because essentially once they develop the partnership with these resellers, and they don't have to just work with one, they could work with thousands across the globe. These resellers are essentially going to do all the heavy lifting and trying to sell it to their customer base. And because Oracle already created that technology and basically just allows other people to sell it on their behalf, they're just going to keep collecting money month over month just by building these channel partnership relationships. So to recap everything that we covered, these are going to be the 4 different type of business relationships that you can look for. And it's going to be product, distribution, and brand, and channel. So now that we covered the business development relationships, one thing to note is that in the beginning, we did talk about sales and what the similarities and differences were between the two. And I want to say it might look like business development might be a more attractive route in that you're getting other people to do the heavy lifting for you. But for a lot of different startups, direct sales might actually be better for you. Business development might be better for you. It really just depends on your situation, your product, and exactly what you're trying to do. And so in the next section, we're going to dive deep into which one you should choose, either direct sales or business development, or maybe a combination of both to fit your startup so that you can grow and scale.